Today we're tackling one of the biggest mysteries in rock. Why Led Zeppelin, one of the greatest bands ever, was doomed to fall apart. At 78, Robert Plant is finally spilling the tea on what really went down. And let me tell you, this story is packed with drama, heartbreak, and some serious rock and roll chaos. Buckle up, because you're not going to want to miss a single second of this. Let's dive in. Let's set the stage. It's the late 1960s, and Led Zeppelin comes roaring out of nowhere like a freight train. You've got Jimmy Page shredding guitar like a wizard, Robert Plant wailing with that voice that could wake the gods, John Bonham pounding drums like he's summoning a storm, and John Paul Jones tying it all together with his killer bass and keys. Together, they were unstoppable. Albums like Led Zeppelin 1, 2, and 4 didn't just change rock, they redefined it. Tracks like Stairway to Heaven, Whole Lotta Love, Immigrant Song, and Black Dog became the soundtrack of a generation. They were selling out stadiums, living like kings, and creating music that still gives us goosebumps. But here's the cold, hard truth. Even the mightiest empires crumble. And Led Zeppelin's story isn't just about the rise to glory. It's about the cracks that formed, the chaos that erupted, and the inevitable collapse. So, why was Led Zeppelin doomed? Robert Plant, now 78 and wiser than ever, has been dropping some serious truth bombs in recent interviews. For years, he's kept the juiciest details close to his chest, but lately he's been more open, reflecting on the band's wild ride and what tore them apart. Spoiler alert, it's not just one thing. It's a messy mix of insane pressure, a lifestyle that was as destructive as it was glamorous, personal tragedies, clashing egos, and the weight of being rock gods. Let's break it down piece by piece. First up, the pressure. When you're in a band like Led Zeppelin, the world doesn't just want good music, they demand masterpieces. After Led Zeppelin 4 hit in 1971, with Stairway to Heaven becoming the ultimate rock anthem, the bar was set stupidly high. Every album after that had to be a game changer, and that kind of expectation can crush even the best bands. Plant has talked about how exhausting it was to keep chasing that perfection. They weren't just making music, they were trying to outdo themselves every single time. Imagine dropping Stairway and then being told, cool, now do it again, but better. It's like running a marathon, then being asked to sprint another one right after. That pressure started to wear them down, and Plant said it made them question if they could keep up. But it wasn't just about the music. The band's lifestyle was a whole other monster. If you've ever read about Zeppelin's tours, you know they were the stuff of legend, and I'm not just talking about their epic performances. We're talking parties that went on for days, groupies around every corner, and enough drugs and alcohol to sink a ship. Plant admitted that this over-the-top lifestyle was part of the band's DNA, but came with a heavy price. He's been real about how the constant partying went from fun to straight-up chaos. By the mid-70s, Jimmy Page was deep into heroin addiction, and he wasn't the only one struggling. The whole band was caught in this cycle of excess, and it started to mess with their heads. Plant said that trust began to break down, and the tight bond they'd had in the early days started to fray. When you're living that hard, it's not just your body that takes a hit, it's your relationships too. Now let's get personal. Robert Plant wasn't just a rock star, he was a man dealing with real-life pain. In 1975, at the height of Zeppelin's fame, Plant and his family were in a terrifying car accident in Greece. He was badly injured, stuck in a wheelchair for months, and his wife, Maureen, was hurt too. Plants called that accident a wake-up call. It forced him to slow down and think about what really mattered, his family, his health, his purpose. While he was recovering, the band tried to keep things moving, but it was rough. Plant was in physical agony and wrestling with big questions about the rock star life. He said that the accident made him feel distant from the band, like he was stuck in a different world while they were still out there chasing the dream. That disconnect was a huge blow to Zeppelin's unity. Then came a knockout punch, John Bonham's death in 1980. Bonham wasn't just Zeppelin's drummer, he was the soul of the band. His thunderous beats, his wild energy, his larger-than-life spirit. It was all essential to what made Zeppelin, Zeppelin. When Bonham died at just 32, after a night of heavy drinking, it shattered everything. Plants talked about how losing Bonham felt like losing a brother. The pain was unbearable, and it wasn't just about the music. The band tried to limp on for a bit, but deep down, they knew it was over. Plant's been clear, Zeppelin without Bonham wasn't Zeppelin. They called it quits in 1980, and while they've done a few reunion shows since, the magic of the original lineup was gone forever. But here's where Plant's recent comments get really juicy. He's not just pointing to the big, obvious stuff like drugs or Bonham's death. He's digging into the deeper, more personal reasons why Zeppelin couldn't last. One word: egos. When you've got four guys as insanely talented as Page, Plant, Bonham, and Jones, there's going to be some friction. In the early days, they were a tight crew, all in it together. But as fame exploded, so did their egos. Plant's hinted that he and Page started clashing more and more. Page was the band's mastermind, the control freak who wanted everything to fit his vision. Plant, on the other hand, was craving more creative freedom, especially as he grew as an artist. By the time they were making albums like Presence and In Through the Outdoor, things were tense. Plant said he felt like he was singing for Jimmy's dream instead of his own, and that kind of resentment can poison even the best bands.